Hi friends, I thought I would do another quick video. Again, I'm experimenting and trying some new things, and these are probably going to be fairly rocky, and I'm probably going to have to take a couple of tries to get these right. But I loved some of the new techniques that I've been doing to brainstorm books, to be more productive, to be more creative, to keep track of what I'm doing and where I'm doing it. And so I just thought it would be fun to share some of this with you. So this is my attempt at doing a better Bible than the one I showed you last time. This one is for, as you can tell, the Dinosaurus. And I'm going to kind of fix some of the things I did wrong here before I start the Isidore Bible that I plan to work on this year. So this particular journal is an A5 from Archer and Olive. I love just how beautiful and creative and artsy it is. And, I just used a Sharpie and wrote on there. And these are stickers from the series, just so at a glance, it inspires me and kind of makes me chuckle. All right, and here we have my index page. I probably will do something like this in the Isidore Journal, just because it's nice to be able to see the progression over time of where things start and where things ended up. And of course, I found some really cool watercolor dinosaur paper. This is kind of before I got into Dutch doors and learning how to decorate journal pages better. So it's still a little rough, but I like it. It still makes me chuckle when I look at it. And, if I'm not having a good time doing the brainstorming and doing the books, then why am I writing it? I should be having a good time. So if it makes me laugh, I like that. And this particular part of the journal, I started right after I finished Monstrous Baby. So I didn't even know the next title yet. And I just captured some of the notes from all of my other journals and brought it up to date with key terms, key characters, some locations, things that I were never going to be able to remember how to spell if I didn't write down somewhere. And I started capturing a list of all the different dinosaur designations and how I spelled it and what that meant, because, I got a little crazy sometimes with the names. And of course, I did leave room for expansion here, which is important. That's a number one thing I learned from the Isidore Bible that I currently have. I did not allow enough space to expand. And then I realized, as I get into Holly's squad, I'm going to have different squads. So I first captured everything about Natalie's squad that I could remember. I did make some mistakes, so I'm going to continue to have to revise things and be, my sister calls these redactions when she makes a mistake. So I had to redact a few things, but this one's pretty solid. You'll see when I get to Holly's page that I was definitely in create mode and there were lots of redactions that I needed to adjust. And then, of course, the other characters for the books up through Monstrous Baby, there were a few character notes I wanted to make. Let's see. And then, of course, what it means to be Merm or Mim, however I decided to pronounce it. And a few just general goals and notes about, the villain and other possible words I want to use for titles, just brainstorming. All right, so then here you can see this is where I actually start. And again, I'll stop here and warn you, this could have spoilers for Holly's book that is out, Monstrous Rampage, and even the future book, Monstrous Revolt. I don't know. This is brainstorming. These things may or may not end up in the book. Just fair warning. If you're trying to zoom in and read here, you may get spoiled. Or you may get disappointed if something I write here doesn't even end up in the book. This was, again, just brainstorming, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then here you can see this is where I started to try and make her squad. And I made a lot of redactions, a lot of changes. I was trying to come up with names, trying to come up with really experimental, cool designations. And, things changed as I got into the book, which they always do. But this is the messy page. And then I added an update that I'll show you of where things got a little more solid, a little more defined. more background pages, again, pretty messy at times, but that's part of the process. More brainstorming. And then here I started capturing details about the actual book. When did I start it? What's my target length? Any other projects that I may have to pause the book to go work on. And again, some miscellaneous notes. If you're wondering what Natalie's next book could be called, it might be Monstrous Haven. Akila's book, I'm pretty sure will be Monstrous Beauty, but we'll see. And I think Holly's next book is going to be Monstrous Revolt. And of course, this sticker is more for Holly than this one. This is Natalie and Akila, but this one's really Holly's squad goals. And then here are all my actual sprints that I started recording. I started writing it on July 16th. And again, I'm a very slow writer. So you'll see, sometimes I only get a couple hundred words in a 25-minute sprint. And then every once in a while I'll have a really good one. But that's just my process. I don't race to get words. I'm not a fast draft writer generally. What I write is usually where I want it to end up. So it's more deliberative, it's already scripted in my head before I write it down. So that's part of why I'm so slow. And I usually do write an I was interrupted. Either someone called me or, my dad popped in or, something just got me off. Or I just got distracted. Sometimes I just, I should go shop right now. And I forget that I'm in a sprint. So I try to not do that, but it does happen. So there's a couple pages of messy sprints. And then here is where I actually updated Holly's squad as I got more of the details figured out, what their final designations were. And some others who may or may not end up in the squads or may end up in Akila's squad or just may end up as side characters. I don't know yet. And then one thing I like to do every time I finish a book is I like to go back and do a retro of the process. So how many sprints did it take me? How many words? What was my word count average per sprint? My elapsed time, when did I start it? When did I end it? Did I have to put it down? Was there anything going on in my life that, I may want to make note of later? Like my dad had major surgery in August and my mom's second husband passed away. So there was, some family time that I needed, a lot of driving back and forth. Dad stayed with me for almost a week. And I took care of him. So, obviously all of those things impact my ability to get words done. And then, of course, I've been trying to estimate time better, too. So I tracked some of my editing time. This was just like my first draft of editing. I did way more edits later, and I don't think I wrote those down. But that was just my first round of editing. I've been also trying to capture as I go through and read any time that I have special formatting that's needed, just so that I make a note and remember as I'm going through, I don't have to go looking for it later. So these all needed either like video comments or text message bubbles or something like that in the formatting itself. And I tried to capture some of the physical descriptions of the squad. When I go and do art for Holly's book, this will be really helpful. And even when I just get to the next book, what color were they? What did I say they looked like? Do I need to describe them better and say, I still don't have Psycho. I need to go back and add some detail here. But at least as I'm thinking about it, I'm trying to capture some of that, and it'll be in one place. All right, I think that's on. And then these are just brain dumps and notes. Again, there could be spoilers here for future books or just ideas. I'm not sure here. All right, so let me skip ahead. What makes this particular notebook interesting is it has all these different colored papers in it. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do with these more like blank pages. I like to have the dot grid. I find that very helpful for writing, and I still don't always stay in a straight line. But I wasn't sure what to do with these just plain pages, and so I decided to make these into character pages as I got the art done. And there's a little bit of a sticker there. And again, I need to go back and add notes here. I intend to go back and add like physical descriptions and things like that. But I wrote out the character names with their card and stuck their card in here. This will get a little thick. You know, it does make it a thicker thing to have to deal with. And this paper already is pretty thick. But this is a dedicated notebook just to this series. And so I don't mind if it gets a little unwieldy. I'm not going to be carrying it around too much. I write at home. So all the character art with room to do notes. And I do plan to do this for Shara's blood and all of her characters. So I definitely am going to need quite a lot of pages because we know that Miss Shara has quite a few blood now. So there will be lots of character pages that I need to go back and do for House Isidore. And of course, ideally, I want to do character cards for Helena and Carmen's blood as well. So all coming, hopefully. It's just harder with finding historic characters that are not like cosplay, that, you know, they look more real and they're not stereotypical. So it's challenging to get some for Carmen especially. And of course, Helena's blood don't even look, you know, human. So I will probably have to have some art made similar to what I did for these guys. But here's all of the different character art that I did, their specialists, their name, and room to go back and add more stuff for each of the characters. And again, this was early in my journaling, Dutch door type, fancy scrapbooking type pages. So I didn't do a whole lot with these. This is just washi and some stickers. These stickers are from Happy Planner. I think they're the Stargazer, I believe. And I don't know, it just felt appropriate for this being a science fiction-y alien type series. And I still have a couple pages, you know, that I could go add characters to. And then I think there's a whole nother set here somewhere that I could add Hollies, or I may just add Hollies here. You know, I don't care if it's different paper in the end. That doesn't matter to me. But that is my process so far for Dynosauros. And ideally what I'm going to do, let me put this away. Ideally, what I'm going to do is take my Isidore journal that's almost full. I showed you this last time. Now that I finished Helena's book, I have just a few pages here, and I spilled water or tea on it, and so the pages are a little warped, and that annoys me every time I look at it. So I do plan to move into a new journal. I think I'm going to use this one. Both of these are from Archer and Olive. This one is, you know, an old one with kind of a linen-y material. It's held up pretty well, but it is a little warped, as you can see. This one has a very similar cover. I think you can still get this one now on the Archer and Olive site. I can't remember, Midnight or something like that. I am not sure. But I'm in love with kind of the pages, the coloring. It just feels very magical with the purple and the black. And so this is what I'll be moving to. And I will be dedicating, you know, entire page spreads to the characters so that I can get their names, their descriptions, their houses, their former houses, their, you know, their beasts that they transform to, anything like that that I think will be beneficial as I expand into New Blood and other books and get their queens and get their blood. It'll be nice to have it all in one place. So that is my plan. If you have any other questions or would have specific things you'd like me to talk about, let me know in comments or send me an email, because I do enjoy this kind of talking. I did show you the Blizzard Bound last time, and I think maybe in the future I would show you my bullet journal potentially, or my planner. But just let me know what you would like to see, and we'll go from there. All right. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a lovely day.